I'm not gonna sugarcoat my Fuji experience. It's not worth it, honestly. It was probably the single most horrendous experience I've had in Japan so far. And I am going to tell you why. Alright, with that out of the way, I think I'll first get started on the purpose of this video. So this is not just to show my experience of Fuji, you know, now that I have been divinely enlightened, but also just to give some tips and important information for people like me who did their research to a certain extent, but also didn't really understand exactly what they were getting themselves into. Just a disclaimer, this is my experience of Mount Fuji, and I know that a lot of people had a great time climbing Mount Fuji, and this is not to take away from their experience or say they're wrong or anything. This is just because I was an absolute moron actually, and was not prepared for this hike. So let's chat about my experience a bit first. So the first thing we did was catch a nice long bus ride from Fuji City, here in Fukui, all the way to Mount Fuji. Now, we left Fuji City around 12 in the afternoon and arrived at Mount Fuji itself around 6 p.m. probably. I'm not 100% sure, I can't remember the time so well. And we started our hike at 7 p.m. To be honest, the hike itself wasn't that physically daunting. I feel like if you're somewhat fit, I wouldn't call myself extremely fit, but I do exercise regularly and I do run often. But this is different. This hike was different. For those who don't know, Mount Fuji is basically divided into stations. So you have up to, I think it was 9 stations, the 10th station being on the summit. At each of these stations you can buy food, water, and you can rent a place to sleep or just sit inside because, okay, I'll get to that in a bit. Alright, let's talk about some of the footage that I took. So I didn't take much because honestly it was dark, and the GoPro isn't exactly spectacular in the lighting. For the first bit of the hike, it was fine. I regretted buying the down jacket that I had worn all the way because I was overheating. I was like, this isn't, I'm not cold at all. Why did people tell me this? Like, yeah, that didn't last long. How's everyone feeling a third of the way up? I'm trying to get this without shining it in your face.
Feeling good.
Feeling good?
Yeah.
How are you guys feeling?
A lot better than I thought I would.
A lot better than I thought I would, right?
We're worried. Wait, can I, we're worried.
Do you want to? Yes.
We're making actually pretty good time. And we're worried that we're gonna make it up to the mountain too early.
We've heard that Mount Fuji's a bitch.
Yeah, we don't want to like be there for a couple of hours in the cold. But
and it is cold.
It is.
That's one thing.
Yeah,
it's
temperature's
cold.
dropping
Really quickly. So dress warmly, people. Dress warmly. We were gonna be at the summit around midnight, which obviously is a few hours before the sun rises. And we were like, yeah, oh yeah, you know, we're gonna make it there, and this isn't so hard. This isn't. It was around the 8th station that you know, shit hit the fan. This is when it started hailing, and the temperature dropped drastically. We were freezing. We had not expected it. We had not been prepared for it. Luckily, most of us did bring rain jackets, but it wasn't exactly stuff that helped cover everything. So for me, my backpack was still outside my rain jacket, which means it was getting soaked with all my things in it. My gloves weren't water resistant, so my fingers were chilled to the absolute bone within the first 45 minutes. I was wearing a pair of trainers, not even hiking boots. So my feet were freezing. And now you have to keep climbing, but it's hailing into your face. None of us had face masks. We actually ended up using just the the face masks that people use here just for when they have the flu. We use that just to keep our faces warm, and that works. That's a good hint because you're constantly breathing into it, so it doesn't smell great, but at least your face is warm. So eventually we decided to just slow our pace a bit, because with each station we hit, the temperature dropped a lot, and we realized that it was going to be unbelievably cold on the summit, and we did not feel like sitting there for 5 hours. So with this in mind, we kind of decided at each station we'd wait for everyone to gather together, then we stood and huddled. We physically huddled together because the stations, resting areas are so expensive that you just can't justify, well, for one, I didn't bring enough money to be able to sit inside at each of the stations because not only is it super full, but you have to pay to go in. It's you're standing outside, you're soaked, you're cold, you can't even feel your hands anymore, and you're looking in at these people, all their equipment off, just sitting there in the heated rooms, and you're just like, this destroys your mentality even more because you're struggling to stay happy at this point. You're struggling to find positives because it's pitch dark, and like I said, you're cold, you're wet, you're just, it's not fun. And you're looking at these people chatting away, drinking some tea, just clearly very warm. That is definitely something that got me, was staying positive on this hike. Like I said, the physical aspect wasn't a struggle for me. I didn't really have any problems, but staying happy, I couldn't stay happy. I was absolutely miserable for most of that hike. So by the time we hit the 9th station, which like I said is the second last station, I think, yes, honestly a lot of Mount Fuji is a bit of a blur. So by the time we hit the 9th station, it was about 1 AM, which left us with 4 hours till sunrise. And obviously now it was already, I think it was 6 degrees Celsius. So and there was still like quite a bit to go, and we just want to imagine what it was like up there if it was already this cold, so far from the summit. So we did what we genuinely did not want to do. We spent 4,000 yen. So I'll probably add some other currencies here to give you guys some perspective, but we spent about 4,000 yen just to get warm, I guess. We knew we still had quite a bit to go, and we saw what the queue was for the last bit to the summit, so we knew we only had about an hour to rest, I'd say. But that does not matter. You pay for 4 hours. You can't just pay for an hour, which means we spent 4,000 yen each just for, like, and honestly it took us about 15 minutes just to settle in, but 45 minutes of sleep. Yeah, it was, but honestly it was worth it. It was worth it. I think if I had not stopped there, if I had not rested, I would most likely have turned around and gone back down.
Okay, it's so bright, I'm sorry. It's okay. So one thing you would have wanted to know before you started this hike. Wait, can we maybe open those curtains just for this little bit? So you just get some, yeah, that's much better, okay.
I would have really wanted to know how important being waterproof is. Like, I didn't realize just how crucial it was.
Very true. Okay.
I guess I would have liked to know how cold it was going to be, and that you have to pay a bunch of money just to fucking be warm.
Yes.
People played down how miserable you are. It's like, yeah, it sucks, but it's like worth it. Like,
Yeah. Is it worth it?
I don't think it's worth it.
Maybe when we see the
I
sunrise.
think the waterproof one is really important. Also, make sure you get a good night's sleep before.
Oh,
get drunk.
Don't go out and get drunk, I guess. Maybe.
I wish I brought waterproof gloves.
But finally, we made it to the top of this stupid mountain. We actually did not reach the summit when the sun started to rise because the queue had gotten even worse by the time we got back to the line. So we were luckily on the side of the mountain that faced towards the sunrise, so we still saw it, which was, honestly, if I had been on the wrong side of that mountain, this video would have been would have had a lot more rage in it. But yeah, so we got to see the sunrise at least, and we did get to the top after that, not too long after that.
How are you guys feeling?
Glorious.
Victorious? Yeah. We finally did it.
I can tell you all that I'm feeling, but I don't have enough oxygen to spare.
Did it.
We're gonna get that last brand.
I don't have enough money
I'll-
for a
I'll-
last
I'll get
one.
it for you.
Thank you, I'll pay you back. Are those droplets frozen? Those droplets are frozen.
Wow, I think it's even more beautiful now that the day has started.
I can't open it.
And like you see the reflection of the light off of all the mist and all the clouds, and it's so beautiful.
Sorry, just
I feel
you had
enlightened.
my backpack.
How do
Documenting Charlotte right now
Should-
on the mountain.
my hands are too cold?
I think she's struggling, but we believe in her.
Yeah, mate. Drink
Stop
that
it.
whiskey.
about.
Oh, yeah, we needed this.
And then started the 5-hour descent down. Honestly, I don't know what was worse, the up or the down. I guess the up just because it was cold and it was dark. But the down is a constant incline with people just slipping and sliding everywhere because there's no grip, there's nothing to really hold on to. Your legs are essentially jelly at this point. And yeah, I never want to do this again. Yeah, our hike totaled to about 15 hours from when we arrived to when we set foot on the bus again. Yeah, honestly, single worst experience in Japan so far. I just want to clarify again, most of my experience was my own fault. I was not ready for this hike. I was not prepared. And what I want to have taken away from this video is not that Mount Fuji itself is a horrible hike and that people shouldn't do it. I highly recommend that people do it. But what I want taken away is that you have to be prepared for this. That you don't end up in the situation that I was, really not enjoying yourself for 15 hours. Yes. Thank you, cell phone, for my message notification. But yeah, on that note, I will see you guys next time.